raise your hand if you're with me here. You're at the end of a teacher interview and you hear the question, do you have any questions for us? You have no clue what to say because you didn't prepare anything. Well, I got some questions for you. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Laura. If you guys are new here, then you should definitely subscribe because I'm doing a whole video series on how teachers can get their dream job, and I've created a whole playlist, so check it out in the description. Anywho, today's video is going to be sharing with you guys some questions that you can ask the person who's interviewing you, so that way you end up at your dream school, the school that's best for you, and you don't end up in a situation where you're not too happy. So question number one, and I think that this is probably the most important question you have to ask, is what type, or if any, new teacher program does the school offer, or what kind of resources the school offers for teachers who are new to the school. Now, if you guys are familiar with my situation, I had to leave my last position. I will link the video for you guys below so you guys can hear that story. But it was not a good situation, and honestly, I wasn't given a lot of resources. Now, the school did have a whole program that was dedicated for new teachers, but it was a district-wide program and they didn't start it until about 2 months into the school year. So those first 2 months were really hard on me. Whether you've been teaching for 10 years or if this is your very first teaching job, you want to ask this. Mentorships and new teacher programs are vital to being successful, in my opinion, so you definitely want to ask about it. So another really important question you want to ask is what is expected? So when the principal walks into the classroom, what do they expect the children to be doing? What do they expect to see you doing? Now, this question seems pretty generic, but you don't want to end up in a situation where the principal expects to be seeing you teaching in whole group, but you are a teacher who teaches with a flipped classroom method and you only teach in small group. You want to make sure that your teaching style matches up with what the principal or assistant principal expects to see in your classroom. That way you're happy and you can teach in your teaching style, and the principal is happy because that's what they expect to see. Now, kind of going along the same lines as what the principal expects is there some sort of set curriculum that the principal or assistant principal expects you to be using? Now, I have been in schools where the principal and the assistant principal want you to be solely using the textbook, and maybe you can branch off here and there if it fits your students' needs. And I've also been in schools where the school doesn't even have a textbook as a resource for you to use. Now, it's definitely something you want to ask because, like me, I'm a person who likes to have the textbook as a resource so that way I can have a starting point of what is expected of me, especially when I'm starting a new grade level. It's definitely very helpful. And worst comes to worst, if you have a sub coming in, you can always use the textbook to create a lesson. But if you are more of a creative person and you like doing all of your own lessons based off the standards and you don't like using a textbook, I had a coworker who put the textbooks on a shelf and never touched them the whole school year. So if you're that type of person, then that's definitely something you want to ask the principal during the interview, so that way you end up at the school that matches your teaching style. Okay, so this question touches a little bit to home, and that's why I'm coming a little closer to you guys. You guys can see me. This one is, how does the team work? Whatever team you're gonna be on, how does it work? Do they plan together? Do they plan separately? Are you the only person on the team? Is it a combination of both? They plan a little bit together, they plan separately. That's very important to ask. I'm gonna set you guys down because we got to talk about this one. I was in a situation at my very first school that I was at where I had team members who would plan together sometimes, but it wasn't a you have to do this situation. It was, here's a great idea. If you want to do it, you can. And I was kind of given a lot of freedom into, I could teach the way I wanted, whatever was best for my kids. Now, at my last situation, my last school I was at, unfortunately that was not the case. We were expected to plan together. I was told that I had to do whatever lesson everyone else was on that same day, and if I was too far off, then that wasn't a good thing. I was told by multiple people this, so I was afraid to teach and plan in the way that I am used to teaching and planning in. So that's definitely something that you have to ask, because if you're a person who likes to plan in a team and the team doesn't plan together, you're not going to be successful. If you're a person who likes to plan by themselves and you have a very different teaching style than everyone else and the team plans together and you're expected to do that, then it might be a little bit tough on you. So definitely something you want to ask I think that that's a pretty important question. So the next one is going to be all about whether you are in a self-contained or a departmentalized classroom. Now this one seems pretty self-explanatory because yes, you probably applied to the job and it probably has the job title on it. Well, hold on. I have applied to a few jobs that were not specified whether they were self-contained or whether they were departmentalized. When I got to the interview, I was very surprised to find out certain positions were departmentalized. So depending on your type of teaching style, again, depending on what you like to teach, this is going to be an important question to ask. And let's say you apply to the job and it's departmentalized, or you find out that it is departmentalized. Another question, this is a little bonus question, is how many blocks of students or groups of students are you actually going to be teaching in your departmentalized classroom? I had one interview this summer that was for a 4th grade position, and I was going to be teaching 4 groups of students. I was only in charge of math though. I had another interview where I was going to be flipping halfway through the day, so I would only have 2 groups, but I was in charge of teaching math and science. So it kind of goes with give and take there. Definitely something you want to ask about because that could be a very big difference in your job. Now this question is going to be directed towards you as a teacher, and it's, are clubs important to you? Now you can figure how you're going to ask the principal this if you need to, but if you're like me, then you have a certain club that's very important to you. I've mentioned in a few of my videos already that Relay for Life is very, very, very important to me, and whatever school I'm at, I want the school to participate in that. So that's something that you're gonna have to consider asking. Do they have that club? Or if they do not, are they willing to create a team if you offer to be the head of it or whatever? Now, if you're a person who doesn't care about clubs, you're probably not going to ask that question, but it might just be something interesting to find out. Does the school offer any certain clubs or anything like that? Now, as far as sports go, I know that this is a little bit different than clubs because if you teach at the elementary school level, then you don't necessarily coach for your school. You can definitely coach for schools in the district, and I think that that's how Florida works. But yeah, so clubs and sports is something you might want to ask about. So this is my last question, and this one again is a very important one. I would kind of rate it tied with the very first question that I asked, and this is another one where it could seem generic, but you can get some pretty cool answers from it. But this question is, what is your favorite thing about the school? Now you're probably going to get one of 2 answers here. You're probably either going to get told some generic answer that they tell everyone, every principal that asks them about their school, every other teacher that asks about their school. You might get one of those generic answers like, oh, I love working with the kids, or yada yada yada, whatever it is. But you can also get some pretty cool answers that might help you determine whether the school is going to be fit for you. I know one of the schools that I interviewed with talked about how their school was very much like a family vibe, and that's what the principal loved, and she started going into more details about how it was like a family, and it fit very close to home because the very first school that I taught at was a very family-oriented school. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Go ahead and give it a like if you have asked any of these questions in the past or planning on asking these questions. Go ahead and also leave me a comment if you've asked any of these questions. I'm very curious to see what kind of answers you guys got, or if you guys have any other questions that you asked during an interview that I haven't mentioned. I'm very curious to hear what those are, so definitely leave them down below so I can hear what they are. Like I mentioned earlier, I am doing a whole video series on how to get your dream teaching job at your dream school, so definitely subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my future videos. My next video is going to be all about what to do when you actually accept the job and what you should start preparing before you actually get into your new school. So definitely stay tuned for that one, and I thank you guys so much for watching this one, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!